up, y'all? Welcome back to my itty bitty little automotive channel. I'm back on the Model A again, trying to keep the momentum going, and I got a ton of parts delivered this week, so let me show you what's about to get mocked up and go into this bad boy. Here is my steering box with my pitman arm, and it came with this bracket. I've got two marks on here because I'm not set on the location yet. I was just mocking this up the other day. Here are my brackets for my front shocks. These will get welded to the front of the frame there. Miscellaneous hardware. My new axles. These are my 28 spline 5-lug axles that are going to go in to replace the 4s that are in that rear end. And my drums, very cool. And my pedal assembly. So this is my pedal and clutch assembly, and it came with the master cylinder and the clutch cylinder. And I also got my new tie rod. So instead of having my little homemade PVC thing in there, I'm going to get this thing installed here in a second. Hopefully I measured correctly. My tie rod came with these Heim joints, and these are actually for a 5/8 bolt. Well, my spindles have a smaller hole opening for the bolts that are supposed to be used with them. And instead of drilling the spindle to this size, I went and found a sleeve, and that will go just on the inside, and it fits really well. It's nice and tight. And then I can run a 1/2-inch bolt, which is the size that's already drilled in my spindles. So that's what I'm going to attempt to do, and I will have to actually modify these just a little bit, trim them down to match right here. Before I go trimming anything, I want to actually make sure that I measured correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and install this in my spindle here, and then see if everything lines up, and then I'll be able to actually trim this down and install everything correctly. All right, success. I measured correctly and ordered the right one. Good deal. So what you need to do before you order that tie rod is you set your wheels as straight as possible and you eyeball it. And then you measure from the center line to the center line of the holes in your spindle. And that's the measurement you give them. Because when you order this, they're going to send you that length, but it's including these Heim joints with a little bit of adjustment. If I twist this one way or the other, it's going to move this spindle arm either in or out. So one side has a right-hand thread, the other side has a left-hand thread. So when you twist that whole bar, it's going to either spread the wheels out a little bit or bring them closer. All right, here is my little spacer, and I trimmed it down. So now what I'm going to do is put a little bit of grease on it as I put it in this Heim joint. Oops, didn't mean to do that, but whatever. So I put a little grease on the outside. It can't hurt to have. And then it should just slip right in and be nice and tight. And we'll put our bolt back in. Hopefully this works out. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's perfect. All right. There we go. Everything is tight and right on that side, and here's the driver's side. So it looks fairly straight, but I'll know once I take a measurement, and then I can just adjust that rod and get it perfectly square. All right, that's in really good shape. Because this is a Fox body rear end, this axle swap is actually fairly simple. So this bolt right here has to come out. This pin will drop out. There's the end of the axle right there, and there is a C-clip. See if I can get the light in there at all. There's a C-clip that holds it. You can see that right there. And there should be one right on that side as well. And then the axle slides right out. So in the kit that I got, it came with my studs right here, 5 on each side, and a new seal and new bearing, one for each side. So the bearing is the one that's going to be tough to get out. You got to have a slide hammer that will get in there and get around there and kind of yank this out. And the seal, that's pretty easy. You can pry that out and then just press this one back in, the new one. All right, it's been at least a couple hours. It wasn't difficult. I just ran into a situation where the, I don't even know what gears they're called, but they're the top gears that the pin goes through, one in the top, one in the bottom, and they fell out, and it took me a few minutes to figure out how they go back. Putting them back in is actually really simple. It just, I had a brain fart, and then all of a sudden it clicked and I figured it out. But let me show you, I got 5 lugs now. So there we are, new axle. Everything kind of cleaned up underneath. You can see I have a whole bag full of rags. I mean, this whole floor area was just a disaster. Okay, I apologize. My garage is an absolute mess. But here we are. 5 lug swap. There's the old axle. And now I just have to put my new drum on there. All right, I'm excited to stick some 5 lug wheels. I've got the ones off the NSX sitting over here. Just to get this thing back down on the ground, and I'm kind of curious to see what those wheels will look like on this. Not that I'm going to run them, but you know, I'm curious. Just when you think everything went off without a hitch, you run up against something. In this case, the drum shoes that I got with this kit, they're 5 lug. However, they are only 9-inch in diameter, and the ones that came off my rear end are 10-inch. So I just need to get that sorted and figured out, but I put the wheels from my NSX on the back here, you know, just so I can roll this thing around, but let me show you what they look like. Well, here they are. They're not horrible, but I'm not gonna run it like that. But I can roll this thing around, and it helps me figure out kind of the offset because they're pretty darn close to being where I need to be. I think I need to bring them in just a little bit when I get my final set, but that's a good jumping off point right there. As for the brackets for the shocks, I'm just gonna grind everything down, have it ready for the guys at the shop. They can just weld them on in place. I've got to order the shocks, that way I can get it properly mocked up. I was trying to take some measurements and stuff, but that's just gonna be a waste of time. I'll get the shocks, I'll mount them on the bottom perches, run them up, get everything lined up, and then I'll be money. And the brake and clutch pedal assembly, I have that bracket all measured out and marked, and then I just need to tack that in place and figure out how I can clear all the turbo pipe and the exhaust pipe the pedals are gonna hit. So I'm gonna have to bend the clutch pedal out a little bit, and the brake pedal I think is just gonna be right in that sweet spot. So productive day overall, long day, especially tackling that rear end. It wasn't a difficult job. It just, you know, doing it for the very first time, you run into stuff and you got to kind of figure out stuff on the fly. No big deal. I know for the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Stay hungry, stay foolish.